Right, you lot, how's it going? I haven't really got a lot going on, but I thought I could just read some comments, do some shout outs, and just have a look at anything that might tickle my fancy at this particular time. I have got a little project that I want to do, but at the moment it's covered in stuff that's an RS4. I've mentioned it a couple of times. It's actually sold to a subscriber. He's just waiting until he's got enough money and he can pay for it, and I'll post it off to him. But the servos don't work, so I said, well, you know, just for fun, I'm going to try and get the servos to work. The engine works, I got that to run. But anyway, that's for a different video. Probably I might, if I've got time, do that later on. But I wanted to do a little bit of talking about batteries. Now, a long time ago, I did a video on batteries, and now and again I do get comments on older videos. Some of them useless comments, some of them are interesting. This particular one was quite interesting. So it was 3 days ago, and it says it's by Richard Brown, and I have never used a rechargeable battery for my Nitro cars because you will have a runaway one day. I've always used regular batteries and never had that problem. I'm talking about over 20 years of experience. Now, I'm sure this Richard Brown's got plenty of experience. Much like myself, if he's got 20 years, that means we probably started with RC cars or Nitro around about the same sort of time. 1999 was when I first had an experience with Nitro. 2003 was when I got my first Nitro car, which was a Savage 21. Anyway, we're not here to talk about years of experience and all that kind of stuff, because really, relatively, that means absolutely nothing. Because there can be someone doing something that's been doing it for 40 years, and that doesn't mean he's going to be any good at it. You can get someone that's been doing it for a year and a half, and they're a lot better than the person who's been doing it for 40, because everyone's different and everyone has different experiences, and they gain experience in different ways. It all depends on what you do in life. Anyway, let's talk about batteries. Now, this person says that he never uses a rechargeable battery because you'll have a runaway one day. Now, let's be perfectly honest. You can have a runaway, doesn't matter what battery you use, because if the battery becomes disconnected in any way, so whether the connector comes apart due to vibration or a heavy impact or whatever, if the connector comes apart, you've not got any power going to your servos, you're going to get a runaway if it's on throttle at the time. If a wire breaks, there's not going to be any electric going to your servos, it's going to run away if it's on throttle at that particular time. And the same as if it goes flat. Now, with these, the reason why a lot of us say don't use these is because it's exactly the same. All this is one of these, but with slightly smaller cells and more of them, because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whereas we only have 4 cells in this pack. So there's slightly more cells because they're smaller. Now, these are all tightly packed together, and the connections are all soldered together, or probably maybe some other methods, but they're connected permanently. Whereas with this, the reason why that a lot of us say, I mean, I've personally never had a runaway with one of these, but the potential for a runaway is because I've only got one battery to demonstrate with. If you've got these in here like that, and you might think, oh, this seems pretty sturdy, right? You connect it to your switch, and you think this is nice, but a little bit of vibration, and what happens is that comes loose like that, and it does and can happen. You might not think it, but it can. And now you've got no connection. So if your battery, all it needs is one battery to come slightly loose, and you've then got no electric going to your receiver or to your servos. And that if it's on throttle, you're going to get a runaway. You can get around this by just getting a cable tie, just your ordinary cable tie, maybe a bit bigger than this one, putting it around it, and that keeps all the batteries tight then, so they can't come loose. If you do that, you can use it and you haven't got to worry about a single thing. But I can't see why this Mr. Richard Brown says that you'll get a runaway with a rechargeable battery. Personally, I think there's something weird with his logic there. As I say, any battery, this one can come disconnected. You know, a wire can break on this, a spring could break, your battery, anything could happen. Doesn't matter. Whatever battery type you use, even if you use a LiPo battery, you can still have a runaway due to a disconnection of some description. So, at the end of the day, whether you use one of these, a LiPo, or your ordinary AA batteries with your little AA battery holder, as long as you make sure that your connections on the connector, your wires going into it, same here, as long as you know that everything is okay and there's no issues anywhere, like split wires, loose connections, and as long as you put a cable tie around here so that these batteries are not going to be able to vibrate loose and disconnect, you'll be fine on whatever you decide to use. I still can't understand Mr. Richard Brown's logic on a rechargeable battery will give you a runaway. Something tells me he's got his facts mixed up. He must have meant these give you a runaway more likely than this, because I don't know. But then again, he's very, very keen to point out he's got 20 years experience. So, of course, he knows absolutely best without a single shadow of a doubt. So, while we're here, let's have a look at and read some other comments. Mr. Cutter Bacon says, remember Servicial. Oh, Servicial. Must be some kind of old oil from back in the day that I've not heard of personally. Too bad you didn't consider a little heat on the subject. Don't know what that's all about. This week, what's this one all about? And moving over to Nitros. Looks more fun going to buy an FTX bug. What else we got down here? Wow. Congrats on getting the Nova running. What was that one? Don't know what video that was on. Can you still get liners and pistons for these engines? Don't know, John. Where's that user again? Look. Love a bit of Ministry of Sound. Well, there it is. Oh, that was the B3. That was a lovely engine, that is, that B3. Probably longed out them videos a little bit more than I should have done, to be honest. Didn't really need to do that many videos of it. It's a very simple rebuild, but it was putting up a fight, so I thought let's have some fun with it. And it turns out it runs like an absolute dream. Absolutely brilliant. And couldn't ask for a better engine, really. Got a B5 and a B3 now, both absolutely mint. These Novas really are, you know, the cutting edge of engines. You can, in my opinion, you can buy any engine you want and it'll be how you want it to be. You know, everyone's got their own makes and brands, what they like. Everyone's got their own engines, what they like. I'm really taking on to these Novas, you know. They're a decent price and the quality is really good. There's loads and loads of comments. My phone battery's just gone dead. There's loads of comments. Thanks to all of you that are commenting and subscribing and becoming members and sending super thanks. If you want to send a super thanks to help me with you know, getting stuff for RC, getting cars that are non-runners and things like that, every penny, every super thanks, every membership fee, every penny that you lot send to me, or it doesn't matter what video it's on, unless you specify otherwise, it just goes into a pot and it goes towards me getting non-running nitros to get running again, things like that. So every one of them is very much appreciated. Thank you very much, you lot. I think when it comes to batteries and things like that, You know, I don't think it's really worth worrying about runaways and things like that, because as I've said before, and I've even done demonstrations in videos, and I can set up another demonstration if needs be. If you want a demonstration of this, let me know and I'll set one up properly and I'll show you exactly what happens. But it doesn't matter what battery you use. It's simple. Even if you have a secondary method like a spring on the throttle, that's got to be powerful enough to pull the servo as well closed to tick over, yeah, or to close throttle. Because if that's not powerful enough, if you lose battery power for some reason, whether it's a wire comes off, the plug becomes disconnected, you lose, the battery runs out of charge, the battery comes off, it doesn't matter. If it's on any kind of throttle, it'll stay there, right? Because there's no electric, so the failsafe won't work. The failsafe needs electric. All the failsafe does is it protects you against signal loss or signal, like cross signals or whatever. You don't really get that with 2.4 gigahertz anymore. If you're running AM or FM with a failsafe, you used to get cross signals. But anyway, protects you against that, and it protects you if your battery gets low. It'll cut off, yeah. But if the power is disconnected, the failsafe can't work because it needs electric to work. Alright, so those of you that think, oh, I've got a failsafe, so it doesn't matter. If your electric goes, if your battery gets disconnected, it ain't going to work. The only other way that you might get it to go back down to a tick over again and not being stuck on throttle is if you've got a strong enough spring on the throttle. It's got to be able to pull the servo as well as the throttle. A lot of people just put it on the throttle and say, oh yeah, it pulls the throttle back, connect the servo up and think it's going to work. It ain't, because it might pull the throttle, but it's got to pull the servo as well, don't forget. And a lot of servos are difficult to move on their own, you know, manually. Some of them won't move at all, and some will move quite easy, so it depends what servo you've got. But if that spring's too strong, the servo won't be able to overcome it and actually work. So you won't be able to get any throttle, it won't rev. It's tricky, but it's one of them things. You know, when you run any kind of RC car, you might end up having it run away on you. Yeah, and with Nitro, it's as simple as that. If the electric gets disconnected, the battery just gets disconnected, nothing's going to work. And if it happens to be on any kind of throttle, it's just going to stay there. It might be on full, it might be on a little bit, who knows, but it's going to stay there, the chances are. So I wouldn't go worrying about it. It's just one of them things. It may or may not happen. If it does, oh well. If it doesn't, happy days. Anyway, you lot, I'm out of here. Cheerio, you lot. Just wanted to talk about that because I thought that was a good topic to talk about. Now and again, if I get a comment and I think that's a good topic, you know, other people might be thinking the same thing as what this person's thinking when they comment it, but in my opinion, well, in fact, I know that as fact, it's wrong. I think it's a good thing to talk about. So if you've got any opinions on what we've been talking about in this video about the battery things, if you've got any opinions, and if Mr. Richard Brown is still watching, put in the comments and elaborate what you meant. And anyone else can do the same, and then we can all learn from each other and we can all have a little bit of a discussion. And if there's a good enough conversation, I might even pick it up in a video again and we'll have a proper good conversation about it. Thanks for watching. Treat people nicely, treat people how you want to be treated, and we'll all have a very nice happy life. Cheerio, you lot.